Welcome into Monday noontime here in Texas. Great to spend a few minutes with you here on The Advance. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Brandon Walton's still AWOL, not here in Studio E of Texas Scorecard. No idea. Well, actually, I do have an idea where he is. I'm not going to tell you where he is. That wouldn't be nice of me to do. But suffice to say, he is allegedly on vacation, allegedly having fun. He is allegedly going to be back later this week, which means Monday you'll get to again see Brandon in all of his glory, both on The Advance as well as doing the headline, all those kind of things. So I know everyone, the Brandon Walton's fan club is going to be very excited to have Brandon Walton's back with you every day on the daily headline and on Mondays sitting in the chair fittingly to my left. But great, though, to have a few minutes with you, kind of talk a little bit about what we see coming up this week, things that we're going to be working on. I do want to note, first and foremost, tomorrow, Tuesday, the 28th, we're going to be rolling out the premiere of our newest documentary, Kicking the Circle. Daniel Greer, Texas Scorecard CEO, is the host of that documentary. You're going to really enjoy it. It's looking at local government corruption. And like he's talking about a very specific case in a very specific county, of very specific things happening. But I think as you watch this the short form documentary, you're going to see a lot of things that will probably sound familiar to you in your neck of the woods. In fact, Daniel and the research team working with him, they're looking for other stories to tell around the state. You know, we at Texas Scorecard believe that the way that we can be most effective as citizens is if we're better informed. And one way that we can be better informed is understanding what's happening in other parts of the state so that we can watch for them and maybe cut them off in our areas, or at least be able to ask better questions about what's happening in our city and county and school governing entities. So tomorrow, Kicking the Circle, Daniel Greer, that will be available to you both, well, on any platform that you're currently watching me on. You'll be able to see Kicking the Circle. Number of things coming up this week that the team is working on. There's actually an article already up today. You see public education in Texas kind of kicking off the week in the very sadly usual way. A South Texas teacher arrested by federal agents for child sexual abuse material. Horrible, horrible stuff. But you can check out that article by Erin Anderson. She has a particular passion for protecting Texas kids, and that's why you'll see a lot of articles there from her on this horrible topic, but one which, quite frankly, what we are continuing to find, things that have been too often swept under the rug because they're ugly, because they're horrible. We've swept under the rug, and as a result, more kids have been victimized, including in Salina ISD. Erin Anderson has been one of the people breaking that story in Salina ISD of the son of the head football coach, himself an assistant coach in the district, doing horrible things to young boys, including apparently launching a sexual relationship with a student that it appears allegedly the school board knew about, school administrators knew about. They swept under the rug. They moved him to a different campus, also so not to bring shame to the school district's head football coach and to their vaunted football program. Horrible, horrible situation in Salina ISD. Lawsuits have been filed now just in the past couple of days. Erin Anderson, again, has been covering that. Again, it's horrible to read, but it's the kind of thing that we need to know about. It's the kind of thing we need to be asking more questions about. I say this often, forgive me if you've heard me say this about 9,000 times, but with public education, we're looking at 95% of Texas's kids go to a public school, and yet only about 10% of Texas voters participate in those school board elections, the elections where you elect the people who are overseeing the school district. So with less than 10% of the population picking the school board, you are automatically ensuring that the school districts are out of touch with their local communities, because the local communities aren't engaging. You and I have to be engaged in these elections. You and I have to be engaged in making sure the right people who are approaching their jobs, the kind of diligence necessary to bring accountability into our schools is taking place. So, again, it's uncomfortable reading some of these articles. And I'll tell you the details of them, the things that we don't put into the articles because they're just too gross and too horrible, are just staggering. So again, I would encourage you to be checking it out so you can ask better questions about what's going on in your school districts as well. A couple other items coming up, higher education. Robert Montoya and Adam Kahn continue to be looking at the curriculum in our state institutions of higher education. Adam Kahn working on some stuff for this week that you're going to want to check out. Quite frankly, for as horrible and nasty as the K to 12 stuff is, the higher education stuff is almost laughable. Right now, it'd be laughable were not for the fact that that's often where some of these groomers and pedophiles in our public schools are getting a lot of their original ideas from. But on the other hand, just the almost cartoonish wokeness, the almost cartoonish buffoonery that we see in public schools, including this past weekend. You can check out a story that Adam Kahn wrote late on Friday about the Professors Union, a union for college professors. And these are people who are tenured, by the way. Why they need a union is a little baffling to me. Anyway, they have a union, and they were going to have a meeting in Texas, but Adam Kahn got word of it, and so they quickly changed the location, made the location secret so no one would find out where they were meeting. That this is the same crowd who'll tell you they want to protect democracy. They have secret meetings where they do weird things in private. So anyway, higher education coverage this week. Adam Kahn, Robert Montoya, want to check that out. Pagefeld is doing some really interesting work this week. A series of articles are going to be coming out this week looking at transmission lines and electricity. I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I care about transmission lines? You're going to want to pay attention to this article. Lots of money set aside a couple of years ago by legislators to deal with getting electricity, fortifying the electric grid, all those kind of things. And she's going to be looking at what's actually happening in that realm. You want to check that out. Lastly, we have some work going on looking at the Judicial Conduct Commission. Now, if you haven't yet voted, you'll know. You might know. If you have voted, you will certainly know that one of the propositions for a constitutional amendment in the Texas Constitution on the ballot right now, early voting's continuing right now, deals with bringing more accountability to judges, kind of giving more clarity to the power of the Judicial Conduct Commission and others. But looking at a case out of Harris County, and the culpability of a judge there. So you want to check out that article. Will be coming out in the next day or two. Interesting stuff there. And again, kind of help understand the importance that we have as voters in Texas. We get to elect our judges. We select the men and women who will sit on the bench and be judges. Yes, they will be hearing cases, but oftentimes a lot of the work judges do are not the fun things you see on Law and Order or wherever where it's the judge and the jury, that kind of stuff. A lot of the work of a judge is actually done with just the lawyers sitting there making motions and the judge filling out findings and other things. So that there's a whole lot of work they do that deeply impact their communities that you and I really don't see, that we don't think about. And I think that articles like the one coming out this week will kind of help understand the importance of us asking really good questions of our judicial candidates. The last thing I want to kind of point you to this Monday afternoon, maybe something you can read while you're having your lunch break or something like that. An article of The Atlantic. Look, I usually don't talk about what other organizations and news groups are to kind of talk about what we're doing. But The Atlantic, a very fascinating article about Kalshi. Kalshi is this so-called predictive markets company. Look, they're nothing. They're a gambling company where people can place bets. They brag about it. They talk about how you can make all this money using Kalshi in all 50 states by wagering on sports and other things. Now, first, it's not legal in all 50 states. In fact, a number of states have active lawsuits going against Kalshi because they are playing these cute games running around their state's gambling laws, including in states where they have gambling legalized, but not what Kalshi is doing. Texas, very notably, is not involved in any of those efforts. The Attorney General's office has so far declined to be engaged in looking at Kalshi and what it's doing to particularly young males, call it 18 to 25, 18 to 30. This article in The Atlantic exposes a lot of what Kalshi is doing, and more importantly, the impact there. Hope you'll check that out. Fascinating article. Okay, so that's going to be it for today from Studio A, Texas Scorecard World Headquarters in Leander, Texas. Great to spend a few minutes with you. I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care.